Welcome to the Tom Matt Show. You are walking through the front door of the refirement zone. And now, your host, Tom Matt.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Tom Matt Show. Thank you so much for joining us. Last week, Sarah Granitz was here. Some of you may know Sarah by her tagline on Instagram, where she has a pretty large following, like over almost 300,000 followers on Instagram, mostly women, but she is a trainer for women, and her tagline is Strong by Sarah, and it's very, very popular, and I enjoyed that show very much, and Sarah's energy is just, it's no wonder that she has so many followers on Instagram, because she is a young woman who's gone through some transitions. She has refired herself in her early 30s and doing some great things and helping people get better, and I love her philosophy when it comes to strength and fitness, and nutrition, because it all works together, and she's not selling any nonsense like so many people out there are doing. And you got to be real careful with the influencers. And as I said during that episode, I get pitched all the time on fitness influencers wanting to come on here. It's like, nah, we got to have this. So we got to be on the same page with all that stuff. Or it's like, no way, go do your thing. That's fine. No hard feelings. But we got a lot of integrity with this radio program. That's why we do stuff like the Journey into Higher Ed. The young superstar, going to call this one. Dallas Sims is my guest today. First timer. Love this guy. So awesome. His education went to North Carolina A&T University. I almost said AT&T, my telecom background. And he is a senior at Michigan State University currently. He's just carrying a 4.0. No biggie. The guy's, kind of sharp. Kind of like him. University High School Academy in Lathrop Village, Michigan, down in the Detroit, Southeast Michigan area. He's got lots of professional experience all over the place. Love this young man so much. He's got so much talent. And the way we met was kind of unique, but I'll let him tell you all about that. His community and leadership involvement. I want to share some of this stuff. Aggie Men Mentorship Program, additional accomplishments, HBCU Week of STEM Scholars Initiative, scholarship recipient. Got so many scholarships on here. It's like getting paid to go to school. That's the way you do it. That we got to talk about this too. And we're going to talk about this too. How do you get money to help offset the high cost of becoming educated? Target Scholars Scholarship, Alpha Lambda Delta Honor Society, varsity basketball captain, and high school class board social media coordinator. Can't imagine that from a supposed introvert, who I find that hard to believe. I mean, when he told me this in our pre-show call, I was laughing. It's like, we need more introverts like this guy. I want to welcome to the radio program my friend, Dallas Sims. Dallas, welcome, my man.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I'm excited to be here. I appreciate you as well.
Thank you so much for saying that. I appreciate that. See, the older folks don't get it. When the younger folks like a Gen Z or like a Dallas, who is just a superb individual, when he and the young people say they appreciate you, that's high praise, man. Let me tell you right now, I looked it up. Dallas, I did look. You could say, well, I thank you for that. I appreciate it. But no, when you say I appreciate you, I know that carries weight, right?
Yeah. And it's genuine, man, because a lot of people, especially people your age, you don't have to do this. You go out of your way and you give me pointers and, tips and tricks. And we just met at the gym. So you just came up to me out of nowhere. So you don't have to do X, Y, and Z. You just do it out the love of your heart. So I really do appreciate that, man.
You know what, man? It goes both ways. I appreciate you saying that, too, and I appreciate you as well. All right, young man, young superstar. You are super talented. I'm so glad to be part of your journey into higher ed, out of higher ed, and where we can help you with all this. And then you helping young people, parents, grandparents. You know why we're going to do the journey into higher ed. But your story is very compelling. Your injury that you had last year, we'll get to all of that. But first, let's do that. This is your life. You got some time here. Go right ahead. Please, talk about your family, mention names, go right ahead. Take your time, get warmed up. Go ahead, Dallas.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in the Detroit, Michigan area. Grew up initially in Detroit, moved to the suburbs like 5 minutes away. So they're literally back to back, Detroit and Southfield. Grew up an athlete, man. Football was first. I started playing football at 5, so that's kindergarten, and then all the way up to 5th grade, so about 10 years old, I think. Did the whole nationals, traveling all over the country for football, went to Florida for nationals, came up short. We got 3rd place, though, so that's better than nothing.
Right.
And then that was my last year after nationals. So transitioning to basketball between 6th through like 11th grade. So just being an athlete, man, and staying active, and that introverted personality stuck around, but I think the extroverted communication skills comes out of being an athlete and always being a leader on a team, or if not leading, then cooperating with others. So just learning how to communicate effectively and in order to get to that ultimate goal of winning, or if not winning, then learning the lesson from losing and then transitioning back into winning next time. So
let me ask you that question here, because we're, we don't want to skip over the family, but that ability and the fact that you did experience loss and losing, mm-hmm. How did that help shape you, and in what way did it?
You got to lose, man. You have to lose. It's a famous quote by one of my favorite artists. His name is Young Thug, but you have to lose because it teaches you adversity, and it teaches you how to get up from your lowest point and persevere and keep going. That's my thing. Like, the sun is going to come up every morning. It's not going to stay down just because of a mindset that you're in, or like a circumstance you went through the day before. The sun is going to come up whether you like it or not. So you got to figure out a way to get up the next day and keep pushing forward and keep that discipline in. So that's what it taught me, just to keep going. And I haven't ran into too many times where I was losing. I've been fortunate enough to be on a lot of winning teams, but everybody don't win every day. So
that's for sure. And that's the whole thing about when you don't have that entitlement. And unfortunately, and we've discussed this a little bit about some of our generation, and as parents, we have to take absolute responsibility and accountability for entitling and teaching our children to be entitled, because they get it from somewhere. It's just not like you guys just fell off the entitlement tree and it's like, oh, it's all your fault. I mean, somebody had to feed into that whole thing. So that's what's been happening. That's the cool thing about having the conversation about the journey into higher ed, Dallas. Talk about it now. You went to, and we got about 3 minutes to go in this segment, so we'll finish this thread when we come back, because this whole show is going to be about this. But start the journey. You're in high school, junior high. Where did you want to start this whole thing to help young people understand about your path? Because you've had a very unique journey to become the young superstar that you are. Go ahead, please, Dallas.
High school was different for me. I went to a school of choice, as you would put it. That's what they called it back in my city at home, which was more so academic focused. Like, you had to maintain a certain GPA, and then we didn't even have our own sports team. So we had to play so I went to university. I had to play for Southfield High School, though. So it was like a brother-sister relationship between the two schools, but it was a very small school university. We didn't even have 400 kids at the school. So very headstrong on education, taught me a lot of just pointers on discipline and how to stay organized and managing tough classes. I took a lot of AP courses in high school. But I knew for a fact that college was something that I wanted to do after high school. It just was about where. And 11th grade, I was actually a U of M guy growing up. So that was a thing. And then I was blessed enough to get a scholarship to any HBCU of my choice my senior year of high school. And I decided to do North Carolina A&T. But Michigan State, before receiving that scholarship, I had applied to state, and I got into state, and I'm like, I'm going to state. Like a week, or maybe not even a week, a few days after, I got the call saying you can go to any HBCU of your choice. So that's how the North Carolina stuff came into part.
Gotcha.
So went down there, and that was an interesting experience as well. Me and Varian, who you know really well, right? We both went down there as a package deal. I grew up with him. I didn't like the culture down there. I'm a fast-paced guy. I come from a fast-paced city. So North Carolina just wasn't it. So we came back here.
Keep that thought, because we'll come back. We're going to finish this thread. My guest today, everybody, let me reset this thing. Calling this one the Young Superstar with my friend Dallas Sims. It's a journey into higher ed. You know how much I love promoting young people and their stories and their journeys and what they're doing and all of the things that they have learned to help us so that we can understand what our young people are going to go through into this journey of higher ed, how to matriculate into becoming an adult, how to adult, all of these things, very important. You find young people like a Dallas Sims, a young superstar, and I mean, this guy has got it going on. You want to listen to what they have to say. Lots more coming up. You're listening to The Tom Matt Show.
Welcome to the Tom Matt Show.
Welcome back, everybody. The second segment of the Tom Matt Show is sponsored by Craig Styles, Ameriprise Financial. Love them so much. Again, full disclosure, all of our retirement zone savings. Let me explain something real quick here before I do the Craig thing. You got a choice at this point in my life, your life, as you grow older, all of us. This can happen from the age of my guest today, almost 21-year-old Dallas Sims, the young superstar, all the way up until you're no longer here. Retirement or refirement. Make a choice. You can retire, which is totally fine, and I'm good with it, or you can refire and get ready for the next thing, and that's what I'm all about. That's where Craig is helping us with our retirement zone savings. Our Ameriprise financial advisor is Craig Styles, and I hope he will become yours as well, because you know what? The thing about it is I don't have to worry about this stuff. I got other things to do. I want my life to be brilliant, and Craig is helping us do that, because with the right financial advisor, like a Craig Styles, Craig, and the whole staff over there, Amy and Karen and everybody else, life is awesome and can be brilliant. Call Craig, 1-800-528-1355. 1-800-528-1355. 517-483-4893 is his local number. Craig.styles@ampf.com. Offices are located at 2651 Coolidge Road, Suite 103, East Lansing, Michigan, 48823. Stations that have carried us do carry us in the past. I am so grateful to any radio station that carried us, is carrying us, and you never know about radio, broadcast radio, and syndication with the Michigan Talk Network. Thanks to Steve and Ivy Gruber, the owners of the Michigan Talk Network. They saw something in us years and years ago and put us on the syndication, so we're blasted all over the state of Michigan on that syndication. But here are some of the stations, again, in and out of the network. WGHN 92.1 FM in Grand Haven, Michigan on the Lake Shore was the first to ever carry us on broadcast radio, and I'm very grateful to them. Will and Wendy, so much. Love you guys so much. WGIM is the flagship of the Michigan Talk Network, 1240 AM in Lansing, Michigan, WGRW 1340 in Grand Rapids. We've got WKLQ 1490 in Muskegon, Whitehall, WYPV FM 94.5 Mackinac City. There's 40, 50 stations in the Michigan Talk Network. Not all of them are talk. Some of them are music. It's okay. If you're hearing my voice, great. Let me know. If I'm not saying your call letters, I'll be happy to do that. And lastly, I never want to forget Brad and the crew at WKAR, Michigan State University, Go Green, AM 870 News Talk, Sunday afternoons at 5. Simulcast at 102.3 FM in East Lansing, Michigan, the home of the Spartans. We love it so much. Thank you to Craig Styles once again for creating Decideri Analytics, where we are making light of weighted decisions. That is his proprietary algorithm. Okay, to today's show, the young superstar, my friend Dallas Sims. Dallas and I have been friends now for a little over a year. We talk all the time, just about every day. And we see each other, met, of course. Where do I meet? Where do I meet good people? I meet good people in the gym. So we're getting into Dallas's story because he is a journey into higher ed. He's a senior at Michigan State University carrying just a lowly 4.0. You know, he's on the dean's list. He's a smart guy. He's going to go places like, I love being on little rocket ships with people like Dallas, because if we can help them launch, makes the world a better place. All right. So you started telling your story about you and our guy Varian, another great guy. You guys decided to go as a package deal down to North Carolina A&T, and you're explaining why and how that all happened. And we'll get to the family thing in a second here, Dallas, but finish that thread. And then because the juxtaposition between going to Michigan State and then going to North, you're a senior in high school and you're having to make these life decisions already. So go ahead. That had to be challenging.
Especially because it was, 13 hours from home. So it was a decision that I wanted to make because I wanted to be uncomfortable, and he did too. So that's why we both decided to go. But also I wanted to get away from home just so I could experience, life by myself. So it was a process moving down there. Once we got down there, the first couple of weeks was cool, but as time went on, we get through the whole freshman stuff, the partying and, doing the stuff that in hindsight really doesn't matter, but it's a part of the college experience. But the city that North Carolina A&T is in is like a very slow country, southern city, not much to do. It was about an hour and a half from Charlotte, which is like the main city in North Carolina. So I really it wasn't for me. And I was able to realize that like the end of my first semester there. And then second semester was really like a reset for me. And I had to sit back and kind of redirect where I wanted to take my life. And that's why I ended up, making a decision. Let me just go ahead and transfer back home. I'll be in a more comfortable environment, but I'll also be away from home where I can find myself being uncomfortable and still grow at the same time.
What drew you to Michigan State University? What was it? Was it because it was in your home state of Michigan, or were the programs? What was it that? And as we're talking to parents, grandparents, and younger people coming up here who want your advice, what tipped the scale for the Spartans for you, Dallas?
If I'm being honest with you, it really was because it was close to home, but it was also a big enough school for me to be like, okay, I can go here and I can network with it's 50,000 kids that go here. I can network with people, I can meet people, and I can have a home away from home. I knew I didn't want to go to U of M because they're more, I would say, I was in the scholarship program in middle school because I wanted to go there, but then I realized U of M really isn't my speed. They're a little more headstrong on like the academic side. Not that I'm not, but I feel like Michigan State has a mix of academics and then social, the mix of both. So that's what I wanted for myself.
A little more balance.
Yeah, that social balance.
A little more social balance, for sure. Well, we got a couple minutes to go before we finish this segment here, Dallas. Talk about your family a little bit. Name some names. I mean, you already named your brother Varian.
Yeah,
Go ahead. Name the rest of the family.
So I grew up. My parents have been divorced for most of my life since I was 3. Still very close, very compressed family dynamic, as I would say. I have a brother and 2 sisters. And
what are their names?
Back to back to back. So I'm the youngest. So Dallas, we got Jordan, Jalen, and Dustin. Everybody's back to back to back. So 20, 21, 22, 23 as of now.
Wow.
Yeah. So my brother is the same. We have the same mom. And then I have a stepsister, which is Jalen. And I have a sister who has a different mom. Same dad, though. So
the blended family, which is very, very common nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But everybody is literally like meshed perfectly well together. I don't even use that half sister, stepsister. It's family. That's my sister. That's my brother. I got my brother back. I got my sister back. Real tight.
That's awesome. That's kind of how my family is. I haven't even told you this, but we're a blended family. My mom remarried, and there's 5 on my side, and there's 4 on the other side. So there's 9 of us total, and there's no step nothing.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's the way it goes. So they support you in all of your academic journey. And
absolutely.
And obviously somebody gave you that foundation. And when we come back from break, I want you to think about these keys that were a key to your foundation, getting into the higher ed, and then some of those other building blocks that are helping make you successful as you are now. And then we'll get into the business thing, because this young man's going places. He's got so much on the ball. He's got a lot of irons in the fire in different aspects of his life. And the thing is I like these hard-working young people. And this guy gets it done. And we'll talk about his injury, which could have just completely ruined his life for a 20-year-old, 19-year-old guy, for sure. Lots of things have occurred for Dallas. We'll be back. We'll share more of that story of the young superstar. This is The Tom Matt Show.
Thank you again to our Segment 2 sponsor, Craig Stiles of Ameriprise Financial. For more information on services provided by Craig, please visit ameripriseadvisors.com/Craig.Stiles or by calling 517-483-4893. You're tuned in to The Tom Matt Show.
Welcome to The Tom Matt Show.
This segment of The Tom Matt Show, sponsored by another kingpin, Jamie White. White Law PLLC, where justice meets compassion. Love that tagline so much. White Law is your advocate in times of need. They are here to listen, support, and fight for what you deserve. If you haven't heard Jamie's very compelling story of why he got into the law game, please go listen to that podcast. Just Google Jamie White, Tom Matt Show, whatever. Go to our websites, do the search box, however you want to do it, and you'll find it. It was such a compelling story of just some bad stuff that went down when he was a kid. And it was, interracial stuff. He's from an interracial family. He had an assault to his dad from some, what I'm going to say, jerks. down in a park in Jackson in the 70s. And, back then, things were way different than they are now. White law and that's what made him become the white law kingpin that he is now, because they will support, listen, and fight for what you deserve. Contact White Law today for a free consultation, or you can get a hold of me like some people have done, because I don't know, they're a little intimidated. They want to call Jamie and maybe they think they get through quicker. I don't know, whatever. If I know you and you have a law issue and you want to get a hold of me, I will do that lift for you. I will call Jamie. I will text him, and we will, I'll get an answer for you. Put it that way. Okay. Contact them today. 517-777-9785. Their website is whitelawpllc.com. Easiest way to get to any of our sponsors is my homepage, tommattshow.com. Bottom of the homepage. All of our sponsors and friends are there. Just click right on through and away you go to their website. And remember, and I thank Jamie, Christine, all of the whole staff over there, Stephanie, all of you for sponsoring the Mad Dog Minutes, which I just got done editing today's version of David's very, very popular 1-minute clips we put on our YouTube channel at tommattshow.com. Go check those out. All right, my guest today, the young superstar, Dallas Sims. Dallas and I have become very good friends last year or so, and I love this guy. He's just got it going on. I mean, these young people who have such a bright future, and they have an opportunity to grow and make our world better. I want to be part of that whole game. The whole thing is just wonderful. All right, so we're talking about choices. We talked about the family, with the journey into higher ed, how you wound up at MSU, and we're building that foundation of what your success, because you're a 4.0 student at a very high level institution here, Dallas. Kudos to you.
Thank you, man.
What are some of the tips that you have coming into the university at your level for making you successful? What are some of the things that you would like people to, if you could look back on your younger self right now and you could say, hey, young Dallas, come here, let me talk to you here, and let me give you some advice, because this is, don't do this, but do this, do this, do this. What are some of those tips? Because that's why, I love having you guys on. Go right ahead, please.
So when it comes to school, my biggest thing is staying organized. And we talked a little bit about this yesterday when it comes to writing stuff down. Because you can keep a reminder in your head, but that reminder go right out if you don't have it written down somewhere. So I keep a planner, and I try to write down assignment due dates and then get ahead of those due dates as much as I can. That way I have leisure time for myself to do things like, design or go to the gym or go play basketball. But I think being organized and staying ahead plays a big role in my success when it comes to school, just because it takes that mental load off of you. You don't have to go through the stressing and the worrying and the trying to cram things in and study the night before a quiz, and then using your resources. I think a lot of time people don't want to ask for help because they might feel like there's something wrong with being tutored, or it's the ego, man. The ego has to be pulled out, like we talk about all the time. But those two things combining is an equation for success, in my opinion.
We talked about that yesterday, where you're saying, looking at my notes, you got, you take the ego out of it, mm-hmm. and you're a design person, but you're also a tech person. Mm-hmm. You've been, you dabble in several different things, and you're an athlete. Mm-hmm. And we haven't even talked about the gym stuff yet. Talk about the gamer side of Dallas, the tech guy side of Dallas, and then the entrepreneurial side of Dallas, all of those things that fit together. How do you do this and still maintain a 4.0?
I grew up playing a lot of video games, man. I used to literally sit on the game for hours at a time. And this is not the most healthy thing. I'm not recommending this for anybody, but I think it builds character, and it taught me how to maneuver around a computer. I even built my own computer at like 13. So very tech savvy. And I think that kind of transitioned over to, staying disciplined and being on top of things and trying to stay organized, because on the computer, you know how easily things can be crammed up. So staying organized. And then if we transition over to the business side, I didn't start my own business until like college, like my freshman year of college. I knew I wanted to have a business exiting high school, but I didn't know what. And I'm still kind of in the process of figuring out what's for me, because like you said, refinement, you transition to things all the time. But I knew that I had to find a passion in something, and whatever came easiest to me, just like technology and computers, is what I want to pursue. So hence my major, information science, tech, and then the business side, close. Both of those things come easy to me.
Well, that's good. You talk about resources, you talk about management, you talk about all of these things, and we never really discussed your major. Your major is
information science. Yeah,
information science and advertising. I mean,
right.
So you're out there you're at ComArts, and you're involved with a lot of very high tech programs and tech just goodies. Is the education at Michigan State in that field, has it prepared you for this next level that you're going into?
I think so. Definitely. And you don't see much of it until you get to that junior, senior year, because your freshman and sophomore is more prereq. You're doing a lot of the classes that you might feel like aren't very important, but junior year definitely changed my outlook on college. You start taking those classes that are a little more advanced.
In what way? How did it change your whole aspect, your whole outlook?
The material and the workload, it was stuff so freshman and sophomore was more stuff I was already familiar with from high school a little bit. Junior and senior transition to skills that you can use in the corporate world after school.
Got it. Now, you mentioned earlier, Dallas Sims is our guest today, everybody, the young superstar, journey into higher ed. You mentioned earlier, and I want to just touch on this for a second, about the AP courses that you took in high school.
Mm-hmm.
How influential, how impactful was that for you in your higher ed and your college journey? How much did that help you?
A ton, man. I would go on record to say that AP courses, the workload from there are heavier than most college courses that I've taken at North Carolina and at Michigan State. So I think it prepared me, because I would go home in high school and be spending 3 hours just on one homework assignment, taking notes from a textbook. And then we'll go the next day in class and have a quiz for those notes. So prepare me to learn how to take diligent notes, but also how to manage a heavy workload. I get to college, I'm like, this is nothing. So I'm getting through these classes like it's nothing.
And that's a good point. And during our pre-show yesterday, everybody, again, my guest is Dallas Sims. I'm going to carry this through, Dallas, because we're going to come up on break here, but I want to talk about the discussion we had yesterday about continuing your education because you're a senior, and discussing, does he want to go to graduate school? Does he want to go into work? We can talk about all of those things. I mean, give me a quick answer on that. How are you feeling at this point right now? You don't have to be yes or no, but just give me a 30-second answer on that, and then we're going to go to break. How do you feel about graduate school?
At first, before I met you, I was completely closed off to it. I was headstrong on, I'm going to get through this 4 years and figure it out from there, but more open-minded, I would say, because I realized the opportunities and the advantages that come with it. So keeping my options open and not pushing anything off the table as of now.
And see, that's very fair. That's a very fair answer. And thank you for saying that, until you met me, because what I like to try to do, and what I did with my graduate experience, everybody, was I didn't want to lose my edge, because I was 46 years old at the point when I was finishing undergrad. I was the ugly duckling over there. Everybody knows that story. And everybody's situation, it depends. That's the famous, catchphrase of it depends on how you are, where you are, how you're feeling, all of it. And this young man, Dallas Sims, he is making it happen and managing his life. And that's the key that we're talking about here with the journey into higher ed. Again, you're listening to The Tom Matt Show.
Thank you again to our segment 3 sponsor, White Law PLLC, where justice meets compassion. White Law is your advocate in times of need. We are here to listen, support, and fight for what you deserve. Contact White Law today for your free consultation. Visit us at whitelawpllc.com or call 517-777-9785.
Welcome to the Tom Matt Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Tom Matt Show. How are you doing today? And again, full disclosure, the whole thing with Brock, we hired him to help us sell Big House Holt. They helped us buy Little House Lansing, thanks to Mike Dedman. Thank you, Mikey, so much for doing what you do. It's all about trust. It's all about trust with Brock and the selling team of Keller Williams Realty. Love Brock so much. All of our sponsors, you can go listen to episodes on the radio program with them. We've got Jamie's up there. We've got Craig's got a lot of episodes up there, and Brock's got up to 20 or so. I don't even know, 15 or 20. Here are phone numbers. Get a hold of Brock. Tell him you heard it from Tommy, because that tells him that, that it immediately lets him know he heard on radio. 2 numbers, 517-853-0000 853-6408. 853-6408. His cell phone number is 517-303-3262. You can go online to kwsellingteam.com, kwsellingteam.com. Sell your home without hassles. Most agents start marketing after you list with them. Brock is in line with this way before he gets your listing, because he wants to invest ahead of time to give you the best service and best bang for your buck. Brock Fletcher at the selling team of Keller Williams Realty is an investor, can either give you an immediate cash offer for your home, which you won't need because he'll get you a better offer from somebody else. But that's the whole point of all of this. If you're worried about it, don't. Call Brock, talk to Mike Dedman, get a hold of him. Again, 517-303-3262. My guest today, my friend Dallas Sims, called this one the young superstar, talking about his journey into higher ed, talking about accountability, all of his entrepreneurial thoughts and passions and everything that he's doing. And we just brought up the topic of going to graduate school because Dallas will be turning 21 here soon. So he's obviously a young guy. He's a senior. He's done it all right. He's right on track, and he could easily launch into industry and probably do very, very well. My advice to him, and as he started to think about it, is, he's managing pretty well right now. It depends for the individual. Dallas, talk about some of the things, because now that you're a senior in college, it's a little different than when you're a junior. Every year when you're in college, things change, right? You have to keep your options open. So talk about that from a student's perspective, how you don't want to be locked into one program, because that could be the kiss of death. Go ahead, please.
I mean, whether it be a major or, being headstrong on a certain path you want to take, new opportunities display themselves all the time. So I don't like to shut the door too much on things unless it's just a logically, decision that you have to make. But I mean, tomorrow I might wake up and I want to do something completely different. And if I feel that that's what's best for my life, then I feel like that's the road that you should take. And you never know until you find out. Experience is the best teacher. So you might transition into something and be like, wow, I thought this was my passion, but this actually better aligns with what I really want to do.
Experience is the best teacher. See, I'm writing down these notes, learning from my young superstar friend here, Dallas Sims, who's a guest today, and the journey into higher ed. Experience is the best teacher. All right, so some of the experiences that you've had, you had a rough year last year.
Yeah.
Talk about that rough year, because that could have easily, if you don't have the right mindset, Dallas, if you don't have the right mindset, you're derailed.
Absolutely.
You're feeling sorry for yourself. But I didn't see that with you, man. And that's what drew me to you last year when I met you, was after your situation. Go ahead. Share that whole thing. What happened?
So second semester, I came back from Christmas break. It was a new year. Usual stuff, our routine. We working out every day, getting in there, getting into the basketball gym a few times a week as well. I go to a hoop run. Funny enough, this is the same. I think it was a Thursday. It was either a Monday or a Thursday, because those are leg days for me. And I hit heavy legs that same morning, went to a hoop run. We played like 7 games back to back to back. You keep winning, you don't come off the court. So we playing until we can't no more. Get through the entire hoop run. You can't leave the gym on the miss. So, clear the gym out. I'm about to dunk the ball. Everybody got cameras out. And I jumped off my left leg, ruptured my patella tendon in my left knee, and hopped out of there and went straight to the hospital. And that was a setback. So I had to end up getting surgery. And I was out I just finished up recovery 2 weeks ago, technically. So I was out for about 6 to 7 months. No basketball, no running, no jogging. So the injury itself taught me a lot. It taught me discipline, of course, like everything else in life. But the biggest thing I would say is it taught me how to get back up. And that's how I spoke to that a little bit early on. But I could have sat in my bed in my cast and every day and not showed up to the gym or not tried to continue to be active or continue to chase the goal that I'm running after. But I couldn't, because I knew it was a slump that I would sit in. I can't just sit in a slump and be down. So I wasn't supposed to, but I was getting back in the gym as quick as I can. and I was getting on certain supplements like collagen just to make sure my repair would be a little quicker, and pushing myself, not too much to the point where I could damage something, but pushing myself to the limit where my body is telling me, keep going, until we capped out. Yeah. So therapy was a whole thing, and that whole recovery process, but I'm glad I went through it because it taught me how to keep going and how to get knocked down and figure out a way to get up and persevere.
You have said during this interview, Dallas Sims, our guest today, everybody, the young superstar, you've said during this interview that you wanted to get up from your lowest point of adversity. You wanted to get back up. You wanted to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
When I met you, you weren't very comfortable
at all.
You had that big old cast on your leg,
yeah.
And you were in the gym, and that's what drew me to you. I'm looking at this really, really cut young man, and he's just great guy. You can tell he's got the good eyes. That's how I know I can tell with these young people. I've been around that gym for so long. They got the good eyes. They're approachable. Approach this young man, commented on his shoes, but I actually commented on that big ass cast he had on his leg, and rupturing, just so I can clarify. Let me clarify something for everybody out there. I haven't ever had this injury, but I know another man who has, a trainer friend of mine, Lee Boyce, who ruptured both of his patella tendons doing exactly the same thing that Dallas was doing, jumping, dunking a basketball. And when you do that, it blows up your leg. I mean, this is not like a torn meniscus. This is a very, very serious injury. So you had to be, did you miss much class time when you were going through? Because this was in right at the beginning of the semester, right?
Yeah, so I was able to transition all of my classes online, luckily. So I just did all of my work. I still went to some classes, but the hassle of walking around I couldn't walk. I was hopping or I was limping. Like even in the gym, you would see me limping, and I couldn't walk for 3 months. So luckily I was able to adjust.
That's the truth, everybody. This guy was walking around. He was bouncing around the gym with a full leg cast from his hip to his ankle, all the way. And he was still getting his time in the gym. This is dedication. That's what I'm telling. How much has that helped you in your academic career now that you've gone through that adversity? You've learned that resilience. You've been an athlete a long time, but the gym itself and your whole academic career, what would you do? What kind of advice would you give to younger students?
So if you can't tell already, I'm a structure guy. So the gym is like my safe haven. It's like an escape from the noise. And I gotta escape every day or else I go insane. So going into the gym, I typically, I try to get in there 5 times a week, at least 6 if I catch that Saturday. But the gym it elevates that discipline, but it always keeps you sane, or at least it keeps me sane because it's a routine thing. If I miss the gym, man, my whole equilibrium is messed up. I can't. My gym schedule has to be consistent, unless my body is talking to me and it's telling me, rest. Like today, I didn't do my 2-a-days. I just got in there and we did some weightlifting. I didn't even go to the basketball courts, but because I had the rotator cuff stuff that we talked about this morning. But it's a consistent thing that I think it consistently keeps you, of course, healthy. My mental health is through the roof. As far on the good side, though, not negatively, but
right.
I think it sets the tone for the day. That's what I'll say.
Sets the tone for the day. And he's an early morning guy because I'm an early morning guy. When I meet the early morning crew, I know for one thing, they're disciplined to come in the morning, which is challenging, and they're consistent. And that's the thing about challenging and being consistent. We're going to carry this thing through break. And we come back, everybody, for the famous 5th segment. For those of you that don't get the 5th segment on broadcast radio, go to the podcast, TomMattShow.com, pick it up on any stream you want, whatever flavor is yours, Spotify, Apple, whatever, and get the podcast because the 5th segment's always lots of fun, where we're going to talk about his entrepreneurial aspect. And then I want to actually ask him as well how much COVID affected him and his colleagues, his friends, his generation. Because he's a Gen Z guy. He's 20 years old, almost 21 years old. My guest today, Dallas Sims, the young superstar. This is the Tom Matt Show.
Thank you again to our segment 4 sponsor, Brock Fletcher, real estate agent at the selling team with Keller Williams Realty. For more information on services provided by Brock, please call his personal cell phone at 517-303-3255. 6262 or by emailing Brock at kwsellingteam.com. This is the Tom Matt Show.
Welcome to the Tom Matt Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the fifth segment of the Tom Matt Show. Thank you so much for joining us today. The Young Superstar, Journey into Higher Ed. Wanted to call it the Young Superstar, and Journey into Higher Ed is a big part of this episode, as you know. But my guest, Dallas Sims, my friend, has got so many things going on in his life. It's just an incredible story of resilience and staying through it. And we're going to talk about the COVID thing here in a second, because that's a big part of this young man's life and the advice that he can give to us. Remember, you can find us, if you want to contact the show, website, tommattshow.com. Go there, do that thing, go to the bottom of that homepage, and there's the sponsors and all of that. Please support our sponsors, because that's how we stay on radio, and they help pay our bills. And also, just connect with us. If you got a tip, or you got an idea, or you want to get a hold of our guests, send us a note in the contact box, and away you go. Dallas, how would you like people to connect with you if you've got a speaking engagement, or you want them to find your branding for your clothing line or the real estate stuff? We'll talk about the real estate in a second here. Go right ahead, please. How would you like people to connect with you?
Yeah, you guys can find the clothing line on Instagram at Confidential Closet. If you type in confidential, it'll be the first thing that pops up. The business email is brandconfidential@gmail.com. And then my personal email is Dallas Sims. So Dallas, like the city, SIMS 1008@gmail.com.
There you go. Dallas Sims, SIMS. Okay. So first off, because we got quite a bit to talk about in this last segment, we got a lot to cram in this next 8 minutes. The COVID situation. Mm-hmm. Very curious, because tell the listeners where you were when this whole COVID thing came to be, because you are a COVID kid. Mm-hmm. No offense whatsoever. I mean, I really do respect the COVID kids. And it's like, man, you guys went through a lot. I mean, a lot. And I don't think people understand now. We know we get past it. People forget it's not the latest and greatest thing. But I work with you. I see you all the time, mm-hmm. and your colleagues all the time. And I know it affected you, and all of your generation. Talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was a junior in high school when COVID first was introduced, of course, and then we knew about it. But it didn't really get severe until March, I think, February, March. That's when they were like, no more in-person school. So I think let's start off with the bad stuff. In the grand scheme of things, especially people in my generation, social skills. I think it affected social skills drastically. I think a lot of people got socially awkward, and the basic human interaction skills just plummeted because, we were at home. So we weren't forced to get out there and have that one-on-one speaking like we can now, because there was so many restrictions, especially in Michigan. But the good side of it was that I didn't have to go to school in person. So I could wake up and I can just log onto my computer in my bed. But bad comes with that, because you get lazy, you get complacent. You're not as curious because you're in the comfort of your own home. So good and bad trade-off. For me personally, I was able to excel because I'm a tech guy. So computers and navigating with different types of technologies isn't hard for me, but other people who might not be as tech savvy or might be introverted even more than I am, they had to transition to at-home school. It was probably tough. So I think the solution to that is to get uncomfortable, especially now that the restrictions are no longer a thing. Get out there and get in front of as many people as you can and interact and speak, because experience is your best teacher. How else can you learn how to do something if you don't work at it?
You have said getting uncomfortable several times during this episode. Dallas Sims is our guest today, everybody, the Young Superstar, Journey into Higher Ed. And you're a 4.0 student, but getting uncomfortable is something that you've reiterated several times. And I want to kind of circle back to that a little bit, because you're starting your entrepreneurial aspect of your life, or you have been. When did you start working? When did you start to become uncomfortable with work and all of these things that came along with the entrepreneurship? Talk about that, please. Weave that all together, because you've been working for quite a while.
Yeah, I started working when I was 14. I used to work at, funny enough, my first job was at the gym I went to, and I would help coordinate basketball events and birthday parties for that gym. It was like an athletic center. They had a lot going on there. But I worked retail jobs. I did the whole food industry thing, and that was during when COVID hit. So I did Target, Walmart, Noodles and Company, Meijer, you name it. I did it. And at that point, I'm like, I'm tired of working for everybody else. I want to create something for myself. So in the future, I can clock in when Dallas wants to clock in and create my own schedule. So that's what kind of pushed me towards entrepreneurship. And at this point, it's just building the stepping stones to make that happen.
Well, that's the thing about having the experience as a 14-year-old is working. How important do you think, Dallas, is it for students to work while they're in school?
Super important, especially in high school, because I think it teaches you that balance, but it also teaches you how to manage money. I mean, in high school, you don't have bills. Or your typical high schooler doesn't have bills. So, I mean, it's easy to blow that cash. I remember when I first started working, I was getting a decent amount of money for a high schooler. I'm like, I'm going to just spend it on clothes, but I wish I would have saved a little bit more of that money that I can invest now if I would have saved it. So I think it teaches you that financial literacy that they don't teach in school, but it also teaches you how to balance and stay disciplined between work and school, because you'll get off work. I used to go to work right after school, and I didn't have time for homework until after I got off. So, that time management also plays a big part.
It's a huge, and it leads into your success in your academic area. Okay, so let's kind of pivot a little bit about the clothing line. What made you want to get into the apparel industry? It seems like there's a lot of competition out there, and you're a well-dressed guy. Give everybody kind of a snapshot of you as a person. What do you like to do? And then what drew you into this industry? Because it seems very, very competitive, and which is a good thing. I mean, if you get into a competitive industry, then create good things. How is your entrepreneurial aspect going for the clothing line? Is it working?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. So I run my clothing line with one of my best friends who I grew up with. He's actually down at Tennessee State. Shout out to KP. But I first got into it my freshman year of college, kind of transitioning from one school to another. I've always been a sneakerhead, huge sneakerhead, 20, 30 pair of shoes. I can't even fit all of them in my room. But at a certain point, I'm like, all right, I have enough shoes. Let's start building this closet with these clothes. So I started collecting clothes and different pieces. And then I've always been the friend that people call and they're like, help me with this outfit, or what should I wear with X, Y, and Z? So at that point, I'm like, all right, something's up here. Like I have a good eye for something. So let me try to create something of my own that I can put other people in. And of course, wear my own clothes, because what else would I want to wear if I'm creating it? I'd rather just wear the stuff that I made. So we launched in 2022, the end of 2022, but really didn't get our foot on the pedal until this past summer, and things have been blowing up since then. 2 sold out drops in a row, and yeah, we pushing towards another one.
Success is sweet. Absolutely. Success is sweet. Yeah. Now you've also met, and you have an aspiration. Now this young man, let me tell you guys, that's why I call him the young superstar. He's got aspirations for lots of different things. But the way when we first initially met, I asked, because I always ask the students, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And he immediately knew. He said, I want to get into real estate. So I said, well, you got to meet one of my sponsors, one of my best friends, Brock Fletcher. Talk about that conversation you had with Brock and the situation that you're working on with him, because you got good things happening with him as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Brock. I was grateful enough to be introduced to him through Tom, but I was able to have a good conversation in the text and over the phone, just about my aspiration and my interest. So I want to attack rental properties. But when I first reached out to Brock, it was about this technique called wholesaling in real estate. It's another way of just rinse and repeat, getting the property under contract and flipping it and making the middleman money. But my ultimate goal is real estate, because that's where the wealth is. And I think that'll set me and my family up for financial freedom. So the clothes is going to fund the real estate in the end. But working at both of them now, just so I can get an early start on things. That way I'm not really, just a fish in a pool of sharks.
It's good to have side action. Our guest today, the young superstar, Dallas Sims. Dallas, we got about 3 minutes to go before we close this bad boy. And I want to get a solid takeaway from you from everything, because you talked about your athletic career in high school. We talked about COVID. We talked about your injury, which was huge. I mean, massive. And the training that we do together, the collaboration that you and I do in the gym all the time, every day, we're talking about, different moves. What'd you learn? What am I learning? These kinds of things. What are some tips and takeaways you want to give to the young people, the up and comers, the current students, the parents, the grandparents? What about the parents and their separation anxiety? What kind of tips would you give? What kind of tips would you give the parents for that?
That's a tough one, man. That's a tough one. But what I can say is, this is a mantra that I live by, and I think you can apply it to many aspects of your life, whether you want to create a new business or, lose weight or learn a new skill, but be unapologetically intentional about your goal. Whatever goal that is, be unapologetically intentional. And there's 3 parts to that. So the first one is unapologetic. That doesn't mean to lead with rudeness. Always lead with respect, but be unapologetic. Be confident in what you want to do. And block out the outside opinions. And then intentional is just showing up day to day, taking action and staying consistent with that action. And then the third part is just to take that action. You got to start. Nobody wins a race without starting. So
great advice. The young superstar. This young man has done a lot. Let me give you just a couple of quick snapshots. Scholarship recipients, Target Scholarship recipient, Alpha Lambda Scholarship recipient, Detroit NAACP Youth Council member, National Honor Society, varsity basketball captain. Guy's done it all. He's done it all, and he's going to continue to do more and more. You're going to want to check this guy out. We want to be of service to you through our guests, like a Dallas Sims. Thank you to Dallas for being with us. Sandy, Craig, Brock, Jamie, all of our sponsors. We'll talk to everybody next weekend. Have a great week, everybody. Go out and ignite your life. Good day now. Lastly, I want to say thank you to our production staff, Mitch, Anderson, and Vanessa. Remember, the Tom Matt Show is a production of Boomers Rock Media. We want to bring your story to life. We are out.
The Tom Matt Show is produced by Mitch Anderson of Black Circle Studios. Original music from the Source of Light and Power by the Ark of All.